This is Brutal Joe Gibson with Ultimate Wrestling, the franchise of Gulf Coast Wrestling, and you are watching Front Row Fanatics. Oh,
yes, sir.
Oh, God.
Alright, welcome back Gulf Coast Independent Wrestling fans. We're continuing our review of Ultimate Wrestling's Rampage show that took place this past Saturday, the 16th of January in Podunk, Cowtown, Milton, Florida at the Santa Rosa County Auditorium. Let's roll on with the next match.
Alright, our next match pitted relative newcomer to the Ultimate Wrestling scene, the Evolution. Robin Golfin took on one of your favorites, Mr. Marcus Gibbs.
That's right.
And boy, what a match that was. The speed and agility of Robin Golfin against the power of Marcus Gibbs, and in the end it was Marcus Gibbs that won with the Sandman Clutch.
And I like this new attitude of Marcus Gibbs with the evil meanness. I like the spike, baby, even though I wish he'd bring back the chocolate chop. Mr. Gibbs, I respect you and your newfound attitude and aggression, but the chop is an effective weapon to use against your opponents. And I just want to make a slight comment to one of the fans out there, a female named Erica, who's been posting on the Gulf Coast Wrestling and the Ultimate boards with some rather negative comments about Mr. Gibbs. Now, I respect everybody's opinion to like or dislike who you choose, but Erica, I recommend if you want to see Mr. Gibbs in a different light, maybe you should check him out this Saturday, the 23rd of January at Culture Shock Wrestling's Hardcore New Year in the Four Corners of Hell, like my Four Horsemen t-shirt, and you will see a different side of Marcus Gibbs, and maybe you will appreciate Mr. Gibbs' talents a little bit more.
But as always, Erica, thanks for contributing to the message board. And it's always nice to see fans with some intelligence get in there, and obviously she has her opinion.
Right.
But, good for her. And one thing I wanted to touch on with Mr. Marcus Gibbs is in some circles, people are saying he has no business wrestling, bigger guys. Of course, in this match, Robin Golfin is a true cruiserweight.
Absolutely.
But in my opinion, Marcus Gibbs can get in there with anyone and give them a run for their money. He's that mean, he's that sadistic. The man busted Justin Stone open and rubbed rubbing alcohol all in his face. If Marcus Gibbs can mix it up with anyone.
That's right, and to some people, they remember Marcus Gibbs starting out as the referee, and then he morphed in, as he started his ring career, morphed into the Chocolate Boy Wonder, and everybody liked him with the dancing and the shaking and the ladies loving him and all that. But then he felt he was being disrespected and not being taken seriously and got that newfound, and pardon the pun, and this is not a racist comment, decided to go to the dark side there, and become a little more evil, Hey, have another drink there, production assistant. You can laugh. It's all good. And he's turned that attitude and cranked it up a notch, and he's been mean, vicious, aggressive, and very effective in his ring abilities here, and improving his one-loss record. He's more often than not getting the Duke and being on the winning side in his matches.
Absolutely. Most of the people that are upset at him for not doing the Chocolate Boy Wonder are the women that aren't getting any chocolate in their peanut butter.
Well,
anyway,
what can you say? But and on with this match now. Most people have not seen Robin Golfin unless you're an Ultimate Wrestling fan. He's new to the area, and to the best of my knowledge, Ultimate is the only promotion that he's wrestling in right now. He's young, true cruiserweight, high flyer, and he's been steadily improving as he's been getting more familiar with the guys on the roster and being part of the Ultimate Wrestling roster.
Incredibly fast.
Yes, no doubt, high flyer, and I believe he will be a serious threat to the Bruiserweight's cruiserweight reign here, that he's held onto that belt for quite a bit. Personally, I'd like to see somebody take that belt away from me. It's time for a change, and Robin Golfin could be the one to do it.
Could be. Okay, moving right along, our next match pitted the self-appointed franchise.
Ginger Joe Gibson.
The franchise of Gulf Coast Wrestling.
Oh, wait, no, it's not franchise. It's the French fries.
The Sign Ripper. Joe Gibson against the high-flying Jet Angel.
Jet lag.
In the end, of course, Joe Gibson won with the Irish weight. But Joe, he's kind of taking on a new deal here. He's calling himself the franchise of Gulf Coast Wrestling. But let's review Joe Gibson's history for a minute. He started out, it was a big media frenzy when he signed with Ultimate Wrestling. He quickly aligned himself with the Hellfire Club. He was the standout. And then once he parted ways with the Hellfire Club, he went on a tear, a streak that rivals what Death Row is doing now. And then he kind of went technical for a while. You know, he was a little...
Mr. Nice Guy.
A little too much. Now, he's just as mean and brutal as he always was, but he's kind of ducking and dodging a little bit, in my opinion. You know, a couple of weeks ago when...
Whining a bit.
That's right, and blaming other people but himself. It was a few weeks ago when BTY came, you know, well, let me back up. He had that match against Cameron Frost, and Cameron Frost beat him. And after the match, Joe Gibson hit him with the Irish Wake, and I'm like, what is that? You hit a guy that went toe-to-toe with you for 20 minutes and beat you, and then you nail him when he's not looking.
That's right. Beat you 1, 2, 3 cleanly in the middle of the ring.
And then, you know, BTY came out to kind of get Joe off, and Joe ran up the ramp and told him, hey, you want some? Step up to the plate. BTY was center on home plate, and you were calling it in from left field. But you know what? As far as Joe calling himself the franchise, I'll even go with that. But you got to kind of stop with the whining a little bit and stop tearing up our signs.
Yeah, maybe you need to go get a hug from that nice, pretty mama of yours, you know, and maybe that'll make you feel better and, you know, get your attitude right. But I too, agree that Joe Gibson could be the franchise of Gulf Coast Wrestling and Ultimate Wrestling. Contrary to what he thinks in some of his postings, Joe, I respect you. I respect your wrestling ability and everything you've accomplished. You berated me a little bit there at one of the shows, I don't remember if it was the last show or not, about I used to support you, now I've jumped off your bandwagon onto the BTY or Cameron Frost bandwagon, blah, 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 whatever. Well, let me just make one thing clear. I was watching Cameron Frost and BTY a long time before you appeared on the Gulf Coast wrestling scene. They happen to be two of my favorites. No disrespect to you, no jump off the bandwagon. Your athletic and wrestling prowess is incredible. You're mean, you're tough. You've got all the ability in the world to be the franchise and go on to the next level. But just because I happen to like Cameron Frost, who is my personal favorite, and BTY, another one of my favorites, don't think that I don't respect you or like you anymore. It's just, it's hard when the bookers and promoters put some of my favorite guys all together in a match. It's hard to cheer for. When it comes down to it, my loyalty will go to the guys who I've been following the longest. In this case, Frost first, BTY second, you're third. It's not a thing of jumping off your bandwagon onto there. So please, you know, and the sign thing, Ginger Joe, is we're just having some fun with this little catty attitude of yours, so to speak. So I just wanted to make that clear.
It just so happens right now Cameron Frost is it.
That's right.
Plain and simple. And, you know, we're going to be bringing some signs to the next Ultimate show. Don't tear these up. And I'm not a wrestler. Joe would probably kick my ass, but I'm telling you, don't tear these up or I'm going to embarrass you. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Woo! So says Mr. Internet.
Okay, right now, with that being said, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more results.